Hey everyone, Rheyo here, and welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a little bit different than what you normally see on my channel, and that is just going to be me sharing my thoughts on the Extinction quest line and also what my prediction for the 5th Elder God Wars boss is going to be. I don't know if that was proper English, but we're going to go with it. But before we get started, if you like this channel and you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe and hit the bell icon, and let's get into it. So, I recently did Desperate Times, Desperate Measures, and Extinction, and I want to start off with kind of like a pros and cons list. And my pros, I just want to start off with the good feedback. I think that it was an awesome storyline. And also before before I get into this, I probably should have set this up at the front, but there are going to be spoilers in here. Chances are there'll be spoilers because I'm just going to talk to you as if you know the story or you've done the story already. So, yeah. So getting into it, the pros of this, the story has always interested me. I've always really been interested in the God storyline. Like years ago when there was like the God letters, I would used to read those during class when I should have been focusing during class. But I just always found it really cool, really fascinating, and I found it kind of tangible. And so when God Wars 1 originally came out, there was a feeling I had of I wish that like RuneScape was around when like all this stuff has happened, because from I could be wrong, but my understanding is that God Wars Dungeon 1 is a war, or the dungeon is a war going on that ended years and years and years and years and years ago, but the generals are still fighting and so on and so forth. And then I know it's kind of canon that bosses and everything are a snapshot in time, so we can kind of fight them over and over and over, and it kind of is like that's kind of, I guess, the explanation between why we can just fight Karapak over and over, Raksha over and over. They're not just like a one and done kind of thing. So I guess that's kind of that. But I always just was like, man, it would be really cool to experience RuneScape during a full on war between the gods. That would be such cool content, I feel like. And I feel like Elder God Wars really delivered on that story wise. It's a really cool storyline, in my opinion, with the Elder Gods, seeing the creators of all of Gielinor. It's such a sweet idea. Um, and just having them emerge, and like when they're born, they destroy worlds. And I just love that. It's so fun to kind of like, it's just like a fun, I've said this like 6 times already, but it's just fun. I just enjoy it. It's really cool. So with Karapak and all the modern stuff, like the modern generals, the modern fights, modern mechanics, and graphics and all that stuff, I feel like RuneScape's gotten really good with cool visuals, cool stories, and cool boss fights and everything. But I will say, my biggest gripe right now, this is kind of getting into my cons list, is the delivery was, in my opinion, pretty bad. Because I feel like a lot of the times, like when Ritual of the Majorat, I remember doing that quest a while ago, and this was before EOC, so it was pretty intense. It was a pretty intense boss fight for me. Like there was quests like Nomad or the Ritual of the Majorat and stuff like that, where I went into the quest and I was like, crap, I'm gonna die. Like this is gonna be crazy. I don't really have that feeling anymore. I think evolution of combat kind of changed that a lot. And that's not really like RuneScape's fault necessarily, but I think it's more so like the combat system kind of changing things. But I will say, old quests had unique cinematics. They had in-game cinematics that were with your character. Like probably the most recent one that I can think of is off the top of my head is Slisky's Endgame, because you had all the cinematics there with your character, with Sliske, with World Wakes when Sliske kills Guthix and all that stuff. There's all these cinematics, and in a RuneScape way that's like really powerful for storytelling. And unfortunately, nowadays, with I don't want to say nowadays, it could just be at the moment. I don't know, because I don't know the situation with development. I don't know the situation with like how like a typical workday looks at Jagex, but unfortunately, Desperate Times, Desperate Measures, and Extinction were just slideshows. They were just PowerPoints. And with archaeology, when that came out, that's when I first started to see the PowerPoints and stuff and the 2D things. Those were sick. I loved them during archaeology, but I think the thing is is I like them when it's telling tales of the past, not when it's explaining what's supposed to be happening right in front of your eyes. Like with archaeology, it gave pictures and stuff of old Centiston and gave you the history on Centiston and how it emerged and blah, 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 blah. Cool. Super awesome. But when Fool came out of the volcano in desperate measures or desperate times or whatever, I was like, where the heck was that? Like, that is such a cool visual I had in my head that was explained in a single picture. And it didn't change anything around. So that was kind of unfortunate. And that made me think back to, I think it was Ritual of the Majorat where you finish that quest and then the dragon can destroy Edgeville. There's a visual for that. And then when you go to Edgeville on your screen, it is destroyed until you restore it. And that is very in depth. That's like very living world. Like the story that you are progressing through is directly affecting your experience, like visually affecting your experience. And that kind of lingers on and gives this more powerful connection for the storyline. And it, like, for me, the storyline's kind of important because now when I go to fight Carapac for, like, I love PvM. I love just like killing bosses and all that stuff. But when you have a storyline that connects to the bosses that you're killing, it makes it, in my opinion, that much more enjoyable that there is a lore purpose behind what you're doing, or there is an explanation at least. It's not just like cool visuals and getting drops. It's a little bit more in depth than that. And I've always really liked that about RuneScape. And I'll just say, for such a powerful ending to the Elder God Wars storyline, the story, good thing it's good, because if the story wasn't that strong, I would not have liked it. The visuals were not that great, in my opinion. Like, they were cool, but it would have been so much more powerful to see Jas in the sky looming over, or at least Jas at least just being right there, even if it's not in like an animation of her looming over where you're at in front of Skye. Like, if she was just right there, like something like that would have really spoke to me a lot more. It would have really kind of sunk the hook a lot more. And so on that, the next point that is probably my biggest con is when it's actually cutscenes of your character, there's not really any movement anymore. Like, it's a very subtle detail, but when it's cutscenes of your character and all that stuff, everybody's just idle. The only movement that happens is maybe your character turning to face whoever they're talking to. But aside from that, it's just kind of idle animations with chat boxes. And there's no voiceovers anymore, which is very unfortunate. Because that was when they added voiceovers the first time, that was really cool. That was something that hadn't been in RuneScape for ever. And then when they finally added it, I was like, this is awesome. It just makes it seem so much more lifelike. And I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer or anything. It's just there's an aspect of questing that I miss. And honestly, I enjoyed, there was a point in time where I still enjoy doing questing, but there's a point in time where I got really into it because I enjoyed immersing myself into the quests, reading the lore, and then also maybe like hearing the voice actors or seeing the cutscenes and all that stuff, because it gave visuals to my imagination, which was really sweet. And nowadays, I'd probably have no problem just space barring through the quests and reading about it later, because there's no cool, unique visuals that I'm missing out on. I'll be honest. There's the 2D animations with like the story blocks, which I could always just go and revisit after the quest, which is a cool perk. I think that's cool. Is a good benefit. But during the quest, it's like, I remember the story. I don't remember any of the visuals. And something that I used to miss about like old quests is like, crap, I can't go back and revisit those sweet cutscenes or those sweet visuals because I've already done the quest unless I make a new account. So those are pretty much my pros and cons. I think a lot of people share those thoughts. So it's not really a unique experience, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel like, especially with like the record profits argument, like I said, I don't work at Jagex. I don't know what the situation is. I just wish that they would allocate more resources to quality content, because for a Elder God Wars, the whole entire lore of RuneScape revolves around the gods and the Elder Gods, and this is a huge quest line that they should not have skimped on, and it was, in my opinion, not nearly as good visually as it should have been. And I don't think that's the devs' fault at all. I think it's just um, the devs are working with the resources that they're given to them, because everything that I've seen from the devs is care and passion for what they do. And I think it's kind of unfortunate that honestly this was the result of Extinction. I would have preferred that they waited a few extra months, or however much more time it would have taken to, incorporate some visuals. But I will say, like, even though I don't think that the cutscenes, or not the cutscenes, but even though I don't think that the 2D animations with the story blocks, I don't think that was as powerful. I do think that those are really good. I just think that those are better suited for telling stories of things that need to be explained that happened before, like RuneScape's inception, or something in the past that our character was not currently experiencing. I don't think that should be what explains what is currently going on in front of our character's eyes, supposedly. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I know I was a little bit redundant, a little bit back and forth, but that's kind of my thoughts, and that's just what I've been sitting on this past weekend. But anyways, moving on to what my prediction for the Elder God Wars Dungeon's 5th boss is going to be. During the quest, there's quite a few clues, I guess. And I remember one of the devs saying that you should know, or like you would have an idea of what the 5th boss is going to be after you've done Extinction. So there's quite a few things. Like, my first thought was it's going to be Saren, because my connection to that was the Elder Gods are representing there's the way it's always been in God Wars Dungeon is there's a god that the generals are representing. So in God Wars Dungeon 1, it's like General Gardor is representing Bandos. In God Wars Dungeon 2, Vindicta is representing Zaros. And all the factions have a god that they're representing. And then in the Elder God Wars Dungeon, it is Karapak representing Jas. It is the Archglacior representing Wen. Bix represented by Croesus. Zuck is representing Full. And then now you think, okay, what's the other Elder Gods? So the other Elder Gods that exist now are the children of Wen, Full, and Bic. And Saren has become their protector. Now, that was my initial thought. And I don't think that's the strongest thought, I'll be honest. But I just figured, now there's new Elder Gods, spawn of the previous Elder Gods, and now we have a new keeper, basically, a new representative of these 3 young Elder Gods. But in the quest, she said that she would not be a threat, right? So she did say that if we ever cross paths, that it would be a not nice interaction for just to kind of TLDR that. But I didn't get the impression that Saren was like going to impose her. I feel like she's a little bit more of a protector than she is an instigator. I feel like Zaros just kind of just goes out of his way to get what he wants. He has something that he wants and he goes for it. So, and he doesn't really care what happens aside of that. So moving on to my next prediction. But before that, I don't really think Saren is going. Initially, I thought Saren was going to be the boss, but that was, like I said, kind of like a loose feeling. So I don't really think it's going to be Saren. I could just kind of see it. Another thought would be Zaros, because where the heck has he been? He, in the Battle of the Monolith, went down into Erebus, and we haven't seen him. So where's he at? What's he planning? Who knows? That's pretty much all I got for Zaros. We just don't know. We just don't really know what happened aside from that, unless I missed something. Chances are I missed something, because I'm not like the biggest lore hound, but it's something I'm just kind of curious about and I think about when I play. Another thing that would be kind of cool, this is just like a cool thought, would be the Tony, Guildmaster Tony. because he got sucked into the monolith. So I just kind of thought like, well, maybe Zaros went in and then Tony somehow became his general, and Tony became some bigger archaeologist than he like he's more than just the guild master. Like maybe he's more than just a guild master. Maybe he was a Majorat undercover. Who knows? Because as an Adra, he wasn't. I mean, granted, I was doing quests when I was younger. I didn't see him as a Majorat until Ritual of the Majorat. I didn't know that he was a Majorat. I may have missed that because I didn't really read through the quests as much when I was younger. But now I know that. But Majorat have human forms, and maybe Tony, we don't know what he looks like necessarily, or at least I don't, but maybe he's a Majorat. Maybe he's got some weird power when he went under there. Zaros is under there, or Zaros is an Erebus. So maybe Tony is his compadre. Who knows? But that is another fun thought, but not exactly what I believe it is. But my strongest feeling, as of talking with some folks in my friend's chat this morning, is Hostilius. And the reason why for Hostilius is because of a few things. And I feel like this is my strongest prediction. In the quest, in the city of Santistan, Zamorak leaves, right? So when Zamorak leaves, that makes containing the god eggs really difficult. Zamorak is kind of getting fed up with everything that's going on, and he thinks it's a waste of time, so he is planning his own thing. He removes himself from preserving the eggs. So he removes himself, and he's not in Extinction at all. He's not in Extinction. During Extinction, we have Moya. She is a general of Zamorak. She came back on Zamorak's behalf, and throughout the whole entire quest of Extinction, you believe at least I did, believe that she was on your side until Saren was about to hatch the eggs on Aiea, and she closed the gate before you could get through. And you address that afterwards as the World Guardian, and you see her plan was to leave you behind because the opportunity arose to get rid of you, so she took that. And then at the end of the quest, she goes back to Zamorak. So all that to say, even though Zamorak wasn't in the actual quest himself, he was in the quest himself, and indirectly through Moya, and she represented Zamorak, who has been not there, who is planning something. Now, there's that one connection. The other connection is the Abyssal Asylum, where the new Abyssal Lords and the Beasts and the Savages came about under Santistan in the Elder God Wars dungeon. And what else is in Santistan? An Abyssal Portal, right? And in that Abyssal Portal, below Santistan, could be Hostilius. Now, Hostilius, I don't really know much about him, but just looking on the wiki page, it says that Hostilius the Autocrat was a particularly corpulent Synthonian, which is a race of demons that once ruled Infernus. ModPie was actually working on Hostilius a while ago, and then he stopped it because I guess it wasn't a priority. I don't know the exact reasons, but Hostilius is, if you look at the wiki, if you look at the picture, you see Zamorak's symbol right behind Hostilius. Hostilius is a demon race, a ruler of the demon race. I could be wrong about that. But it says Hostilius seized rulership of the infernal dimensions following the Synthonian rebellion against the Infernals, the original rulers of the realm, thousands of years ago. During this tumultuous time, Hostilius himself devoured many of his former infernal overlords and fellow Synthonians, causing him to grow to a size that could dwarf even a god, and granted him the accumulated cunning of everything he had ever eaten, something which greatly factored into him keeping his throne for so long. So, for me, reading that now, that is probably, in my opinion, the strongest connection to what the 5th Elder God Wars dungeon boss can be. Because what the idea was behind this, it looks like, from what I'm reading here, is from this last sentence right here on the wiki, it says, Hostilius is slated to be released as a boss at some point in the future. So it's already been partially developed by ModPie. So it's already been developed a little bit. And we've also gotten the Abyssal Scourge and Jaws of the Abyss update with the Abyssal Lords and Savages and the Beasts. So where are they emerging from? When the Battle of the Monolith came about, we had abyssal-like creatures popping out of it. So there's two major pointers right there just dealing with Centistan is the Abyssal update and then the abyssal creatures that sort of came out of the monolith when the Battle of the Monolith originally started. Those are two big pointers right there. And then just with this being a Zamorakian general and Zamorak planning something outside, like leaving the Elder God Wars and planning something in the background and having Moya trying to kill you and get you out of the way because you, as the World Guardian, are immune to basically the like pretty much everything that would kill any other being on RuneScape or anything else. You're resistant to like the artifacts, or you're resistant to pretty much any of the god superpowers. He's trying to get you out of the way, and I think Zamorak sees things under his control, and he is, from what I understand, the ruler of Hostilius, or has control over Hostilius. And I don't know. I just believe that would be the most. I feel like that is the most realistic answer to what it could be, unless it's something totally out of left field. But I think I have to say it's probably Hostilius. And the way that it was designed is that it's due to have 3 different difficulties: casual, normal, and hardcore mode. So that would be pretty cool to have another Elder God Wars boss that you can mask like Nex, or to have a God Wars boss that you can mask sort of like Nex and Nex AOD. And then a hardcore mode, maybe that would be solo to kind of keep it in line with like being able to solo Telos or something like that. And then normal, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if that's still the idea behind Hostilius being released, but where else would he be released? Where else has a strong abyssal connection? I mean, there's the Abyssal Portal and the Slayer Tower with abyssal creatures there. And then there's the Abyss. But I mean, I just can't see this happening anywhere other than the Elder God Wars, like under the Asylum or under the Elder God or under the City of Centistan. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts in this video. I know it was kind of a Babylon. It was kind of it was a lot of information, a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings towards the story. But overall, to wrap up my thoughts, I love the story. I just wish that in the future that they would take more time to create more powerful ways of storytelling like they used to. I don't know how it takes to develop. I don't work at Jagex, like I mentioned before, but from the sounds of it, it seems like they do have the money. They just don't use it for the game as much as they do for maybe the investors and the people up top. But those are speculations, and I don't want to dissect this game into the ground because I love RuneScape. It's my first ever MMO, and I've really been enjoying making content for it. And despite the quest line, despite how the story was told, I still love it. I still do. I just wish it were better, honestly. Just to be constructive about it, I just wish it was better, and I wish that the devs had time and the resources to make it better. But I'm curious to know what y'all's thoughts are, because I love theorizing what the 5th Elder God Wars boss is going to be, and I'm really curious to see what y'all's opinions are on Extinction and the whole quest line. So if you have any thoughts on the quest line, on the 5th Elder God Wars dungeon boss, drop them below and let me know what you think, because I want to theorize, because I kind of want to get a stronger connection to see if Hostilius really is the Elder God Wars boss that we're going to be facing here in the 5th front, or if it's something that I am not even realizing, or if there's a clue that I completely missed. So definitely let me know down below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and then make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content. Anyways, guys, I'm Rheyo, and I'll see you next time. Take care.